So let me bring you up to speed on why a Bowie knife, what the connection is between Bowie knives and the iconic American Old West, sort of the, I don't want to call it a mythology, because we have record of the role of the Bowie knife in the American West, and there's nothing mythic about it. It's just the way it worked, starting with Jim Bowie. So let me debrief what I know about this and what I've always sort of intended to know about it, and what the experience has been like to actually now have made a couple of Bowie knives. Bowie knives kind of they emerged, as I understand it, according to Google, around 1830-ish, and they sort of dominated the popular culture after a duel on a sandbar between Jim Bowie and somebody who didn't survive it. Now, Jim almost didn't survive it either, because after the two pistols of the duelers didn't work, and essentially they threw down their pistols and pulled out their knives, and Jim was stabbed a few times, some of the guys on the sidelines opened up. Now that was a different world, wasn't it? So here's Jim Bowie, and he's been shot once through the lungs. He's been stabbed some number of times by his assailant, and he gets his Bowie knife out, which he had designed and forged by a blacksmith. Let's make a formal recognition of that, by a blacksmith, and with one stroke, stabbed the man to the heart and ended the fight. The newspapers that really made a big deal of this later didn't quite know what to call Jim's knife, whether to call it a short sword. It was similar to the artillery swords in the Civil War, and it was actually described as a cleaver by some who reported on the event. And so that kind of set the standard for the normal understanding of a Bowie knife, of having a long and heavy and thick and durable blade, usually or often with a guard to protect your knuckles from the slicing and dicing action of the other guy's knife. Something that came to me as being startling is that there was actually a move towards arms control in the 1850s in the American South. There was legislation proposed to limit the effect of Bowie knives and Arkansas toothpicks in our states. But apparently that didn't work, because they passed into a status of being one of the top three iconic American arms: the Kentucky rifle, the Bowie knife, and the Colt 45. I started blacksmithing seriously about 15 years ago and was instantly hooked. Actually, I think I was hooked long before I even tried it. I always knew that I would love it, and for lots of reasons. I just love making objects that will last several lifetimes. I like the fact that I'm using tools and processes that have been around for millennia. I like the fact that it's artistic and creative. It's a great exercise. It's a great place to think. There are just dozens of reasons why this is a great hobby. If you're getting into blacksmithing, you might consider checking out Essential Blacksmith, our online beginning blacksmithing course. It is, by far, the best blacksmithing content we've ever made, and it's designed specifically to take a total beginner through all of the basics and to the point where they're creating some really beautiful objects. If nothing else, I hope you'll at least click the link so you can see what we put together. We put our heart and soul into this course, and we're really proud of it. You're watching me take a Damascus tomahawk that I've had laying around here for 2 or 3 years and repurpose it into a Damascus bar that I'm going to use for the guards or the hilts on these Bowie knives. This tomahawk was a failure. I punched and drifted the eye through the hawk at an angle. So when I realized that I needed some more material for the guards on these things, I thought, you know what, I think I can hammer the edge of that blade back down and just recapture that material into a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch bar, which is what I think I'm going to need to slit and drift and draw out the guards for these knives. So I would say overall, I'm pleased with how these turned out. Pattern Damascus, they match. I mean, you can tell they're brothers, right? And so that's a win. You probably know that I do not consider myself a knife maker. But I'll tell you, I learned a lot about knife making these two knives, which is, after all, the best way to learn anything you're interested in is just to start doing it, and by the time you're done, you're going to be better. But these things are, the heat treating is durable. I haven't given them a stress test to destruction. I don't intend to, but they look good. They're going to hold an edge. And all in all, I would say that these just are right squarely down the middle of the road of a classic Bowie knife interpretation, you know, in the 21st century. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.